I'm Walter Cole. I'm Darcelle 15. I'm a businessman. I'm an entertainer. And I'm a female impersonator. Yes. I thought about doing shows as Walter. And then nobody's going to buy tickets to see Walter. They're buying tickets to see Darcelle 15. I feel that the reason that there's so much appeal now for female impersonators, for entertainment, is because people have had enough. They have enough of television news. They have enough of cable news where people are being ripped apart all over the world, and they want escape. And what better escape than to come and see men dressed as women? The illusions, the lights, the glitter. It's more than they would see in a real, I've used this word occasionally, real woman review show.
Get the lowest prices of the year now at Montgomery Ward. The lowest prices on everything from electronics to Jack Faust.
Hi. So, you know, we know that some of your favorite programs out there are programs where Town Hall takes you into a different world. And that's what we're doing tonight. And now for something completely different. The world of female impersonators. Men who impersonate women. Some on stage under the lights. Some maybe across the aisle from you in the supermarket. And that world has got a lot of attention lately. Hit movies in the last few years. La Cage aux Folles. Tootsie, about men dressing as women. Victor Victoria, about a woman dressing as a man, dressing as a woman. It's a topic with a lot of attention lately, and we're going to learn something about it tonight. We're going to learn who the people are, how they do it, why they do it, and what people think about them. And let's start by meeting tonight some of our special guests, and I would call out, is Randy Bowman here?
I'm right here.
Randy, what's your name?
Monica Ray.
Monica Ray. Who does your hair?
I do my own.
Now, is that, I've got to ask you, is that your real hair?
No.
Not your real hair, but you do your own there, and your own
I just
makeup.
set it on hand grenades and...
And away we go. How about Walter Cole?
Darcelle 15, hello.
Darcelle 15, okay, I have to ask the obvious. Why 15?
In 1973, I was very lucky and honored to be elected the 15th Empress of Portland, and I'm very proud of that.
So what is the Empress of Portland?
An honorary title, a gay title, a beautiful title.
Well, who elects you?
Portland's community.
And
about 2,000 people voted in 73 when I was elected.
All right, and Darcelle 15, what do you do for a living?
I'm a female impersonator entertainer.
And where?
At Darcelle 15 Show Bar in Old Town.
Mm-hmm. All right, there is the plug. And you are? Next to you?
And I'm Roxy. My name is Roc. In real life, it's Roc Neuhardt. I'm Roxy. I'm Darcelle's business partner. I'm the choreographer and stager of the show at Darcelle 15.
How about Wendell Jackson?
Wendell Jackson, a.k.a. Wanda Kentucky Jackson.
That's real fast now, a.k.a. Wanda Kentucky Jackson.
Chicken, you know?
Yeah, okay. Is that one maybe I ought to leave alone? I don't know.
Please. Yes,
Wanda, where do you work?
I'm going to school now to be a hairdresser at Fagan's.
And you have won a title, too, haven't you?
I was last year's Gay Miss Oregon.
Gay Miss Oregon. Yes. And one more. What about Bernie Sanford?
Right here.
Bernie? And where do you work?
I work at JR's West.
Bernie, now, a question I think our viewers now have seen, or in case anybody out there hasn't figured it out, all men so far in the program, including me, which may not have surprised them. But I think that some of the others may have surprised them. And a question for you now, what is your professional name again?
My professional name? Dora Jar.
Dora Jar.
Dora Jar.
You notice that I'm repeating that with a straight face.
Most people don't.
I would assume we probably have some worse puns around, but Dora, if I could call you that, here you are, you're sitting before me. You would fool me. There's no question about it. In fact, I'd say I'd be fooled around, but you would fool me. You're tall, but you are the image of a beautiful woman. And I think it might be interesting to our viewers to see how that's done. And we're going to show here a tape that you made, and I wish that you would go along with me and narrate it and tell the people, we can see it here, and tell the people what are you doing. Now, we could have that tape, please.
Well, right here, I'm,
Now, that's Bernie Sanford right there, isn't it?
yeah,
Okay, what's Bernie doing?
I'm blocking out my eyebrows with nose putty to give my face a more feminine feature.
Why don't you just shave them off?
Because I enjoy being a man when I'm not dressed or entertaining the way I'm dressed right now.
Okay, now, go ahead. Now, what's the face makeup?
Yeah, this is the pan stick, the base. And there go the eyebrows, right above my own.
You're painting those in.
Uh-huh.
Now, what's this?
This is eyeshadow. We're doing the eyes. Yeah.
No,
fuchsia.
your favorite color. Now, why is that? Is there something about the color that means something to you?
No, not really.
Just like I like blue shirts.
Yeah. The red ends up disappearing anyway.
Now, what are we
basically.
doing?
Blending. And that was the cheeks a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the lips.
Now, you're putting on, is this different than the way women do it? Is there some secret to this?
When you're doing your cheeks, men have a completely different cheekbone structure, and so, as you can tell, I've got 3 different shades on my cheek, and that's to make it look like the bone structure is up a little higher than what it normally is.
I see. Now on go false eyelashes.
Yes.
Special kind?
These are, most female impersonators in town do not wear as thick or heavy as eyelashes as I do. Darcelle, the girls at Darcelle are probably the only ones.
Now on comes again a double layer of lipstick. Is that right? Is that what I just saw?
Well, yeah. I stain my lips first with the shadow that you saw me putting on my eyes. That way I don't have to repaint my lips over and over again throughout the course of an evening.
Now here comes the crown, huh?
Yeah.
An expensive wig?
Yes. $30 and $60 to have it done.
All right. Now, I'm going to ask something here. Is this my imagination here, or is Bernie becoming Dora? It seems like your gestures and the way, am I imagining that the way you tilted your head there? It seemed like different than when you started.
Uh-huh.
I'm not imagining that.
No, you're not.
You're feeling different as you go along here?
Well,
oh, here we go.
Not really.
Here's the final product.
Depending on...
Well, there's no way that's Bernie Sanford now. There it is.
No, that's Bernie Sanford, the entertainer, as Dora Jar.
As Dora Jar.
Yes.
And then we flash you now. That is amazing. Now, you say you're an entertainer, Dora.
Uh-huh.
What do you do?
I MC a show on Saturday nights at JR's West at 11 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. And do you dance, sing?
Uh-huh, dance, sing. I use my own voice.
Your own voice?
Uh-huh.
Now, that's not entirely common, is it? Isn't a lot of this done with lip sync?
A lot of it. A lot of it is lip sync.
Oh, and why is that?
Well, it's also a tradition, and also we can cover more territory. We're not all gifted with beautiful soprano voices, as you can probably hear.
Yeah.
And so, of course, to complete the illusion on stage is created by light, sound, makeup, gowns, and, of course, a full room full of sound and voices, and the voices are women's voices.
So this way, like if I could say for you, Darcelle, I think it would be difficult for you to do a woman's voice to sing, probably, wouldn't it?
I do sing. I do use my own voice, and I do sing, but I don't try to change my voice because I feel that in this business, you have to be perfect at it. You have to absolutely have a feminine voice, and it better come across that way. What you're hearing now is the way I work on stage.
Roxy.
Yes.
Now, you're, of course, the picture of a woman. Let me ask you something. Do you feel like a woman now?
Well, I'm not quite sure how women feel because I'm not one. I'm not a woman, so it's hard for me to say how a woman feels.
Do you think of yourself in terms like that? Let me ask you.
What has to happen is that when you put a face on, paint your face as we are, and when you're dressed as this, you have to assume what your idea of maybe femininity is. doesn't mean necessarily you're feminine inside of your mind, but the show is on the outside. People can't see the inside.
So you're playing a part.
I'm playing a role.
Do any of you, when you're playing that role, do any of you really feel different?
I do when I go to straight bars.
Go ahead. What?
When I go out to straight bars, quite
Now,
frequently.
straight bars,
Meaning,
for our viewers who may be wondering, they may be thinking one might be curved.
male and female, you know.
Yeah.
But when heterosexual thing.
Heterosexual.
But when I dress up like this, it's like when I go to a heterosexual bar, I feel like a beautiful woman. And they look at me like I'm a beautiful woman. I don't feel any different than they do. I don't go in their restrooms, but I don't feel any different.
Now that brings up a question. What happens when you have to go to the restroom?
You take your undergarments off.
No, wait. Now, wait a minute now. That may be just more detail.
What I do.
No. That may be just more detail than we needed on a family program. What I meant is, you're in a bar, and it says men, and it says women.
Exactly.
You have to go. What do you do?
I go into the women's restroom, and I sit down, I use the restroom, and stand up, put everything back together, and go out. I do.
Darcelle is going,
I am going, because of course, we entertainers do not go to straight bars.
Now, what's the difference then between you and
Look
Wanda,
at us.
Kentucky? No, is this what you consider yourselves like Monica Ray? By the way, Ray is Spanish for queen, isn't it?
Yes.
Is that why you picked that name?
It just kind of happened. I didn't really think too much about it. I just liked the name.
You're an entertainer.
Mm-hmm.
You people entertainers? So what I'm looking at here is you're entertainers. What's the difference between you and we hear of the time? I mentioned in the open about, I said, maybe you might see someone like this across from you in Safeway. What's the difference between men who dress up as women? What's the difference between you and them? Who wants to pick that up?
We're caricatures. We're doing entertainment. We're not dressed. Our makeup is not women's makeup. Our costumes are not from Sears and Roebuck. They're not double knit. We don't try to look like the woman next door. We're entertainers.
There's a big difference between a female impersonator, a drag queen, a transvestite, and a transsexual.
Okay, now let's take them one at a time. A female impersonator is what?
One who is an entertainer, who is making a living, usually.
Trying to, anyway.
Trying to,
like,
yes.
like the rest of us.
Getting paid for doing what they're doing, putting on a face.
Is that right? Entertainers? You're an entertainer?
I don't make a living at it, but yes, I do entertain. That's why I do this, is to entertain.
You're an entertainer?
Yes. I'm Vanessa. I ran the shows at Doll and Pennies for about 10 years. And most of the people that work there basically were entertainers. A few occasionally are really into it in a little different manner. They're living as a woman and occasionally doing something.
So female impersonators, it's a business. A business for you? A business for you?
Yes.
All right, then you gave me a number of categories there, George R. What was the next category?
Drag queen.
What's a drag queen?
A drag queen, this is very interesting. Everybody has their own concept of what the four are. I consider the female impersonator aspect as someone who's making money. A drag queen, I look and view at as someone who enjoys dressing up as a woman and going out and doing shows, but not making a living at it.
Now, does a drag queen necessarily do shows?
Yes.
We agreed on that as a... No. You're saying no. Want to identify yourself?
Well, I used to be one.
Well, that's not much drag. Well, by the way, hey, drag. Why drag? Where'd the word come from? I'll use it. Would you identify yourself?
I'm Raymond Sparks. I'm part of the Jar family, Door Jar.
And Ray, where'd drag come from? Why drag?
I don't know. That's just...
Anybody know? Roxy, do you know?
word drag, in the first place, drag is a very old English name. And drag literally means, and comes from England, and is an old English term, which means clothing. It's what drag means. And it has, over the years, taken on a connotation in the theater. They've talked about drag in many respects, and it has nothing to do with female impersonator. Drag always meant costume, or a costume other than what you would wear ordinarily.
Well, we learned something there. Where's Dr. Hyde? Dr. Hyde, what would you say, would you identify, tell our audience who you are, please?
Yes, I'm Dr. Jeffrey Hyde. I'm a psychiatrist, and I have a special interest in the problems of transsexuals.
Now, to take us down the line, what is the difference between a female impersonator and someone a man who dresses up as a woman and goes to Safeway, goes to the store, etc.? What's the difference?
It's a hard one to describe, and I wouldn't try to describe on behalf of the female impersonators. I think they can speak for themselves.
They did, right.
There is a key issue here, and that is gender identity. How one feels deep down inside about your own sense of masculinity or femininity. And I don't think that many female impersonators would say they really feel like women. I think they are men, and they like dressing as women. Would I be right there?
Well, this is what, for example, Dora Jar said. That I asked, why don't you shave off your eyebrows? Because I like being a man, too. Okay, go ahead.
But there's quite a lot of people who feel deep down inside that they are opposite from their anatomical sex.
What's a transvestite?
That's a sort of intermediate term that really means no more than somebody who dresses in the clothing of the opposite sex.
For what purpose?
Well, some people say that originally it's a kind of sexual excitement. It's related to arousal. But then later on it can just be a habit, like a compulsion.
Now, what about a transsexual?
Well, a transsexual is, as I say, somebody who has the anatomical body of one sex, but their own sense of sexual identity is opposite from that.
So a transsexual is someone who is crossed across the sexes, not as a business,
no,
but because of a desire to join the other sex.
Yes, most transsexuals I know, and I think I've probably met about 100 of them in this area, are both male to female and female to male in about equal proportion. Most of the ones I know are very intent on keeping a low key.
Keeping a low key. Well, the people here tonight were in high key. Right back there. Would you identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Al Zwolinski, and otherwise known as Linda Lee.
And Al, let me ask you a question, Al. What do you do? Are you an entertainer?
Yes, I entertain, not for a living like Darcelle does, but I do entertain at Pa's Cellar on 800 East Burnside on weekends. And we get a stipend for doing it, but it's not a regular pay like Darcelle does, and we don't charge admission, so we can't be considered professionals, really.
You aren't a professional. Where do you get your clothes?
Oh, I buy them wherever I can. Darcelle says don't buy them Montgomery Ward's, what have you. I buy some of mine there. I buy them. I also buy them in second-hand shops that have vintage clothing. A lot of the music I do is from the 50s to the 60s. I concentrate on that.
Let me swing over there. Would you identify yourself?
My name is Laurel Andrews, a.k.a. Kurt Schultz. I'm entertained with Darcelle 15 Company. I've been with the company for 4 years.
Now, Laurel, where do you get your clothes?
I design and make my own clothes.
Are there some of you who buy their clothes? Who buys their clothes? Right there. Would you identify yourself, please?
My name is Heather Blue, a.k.a. Pat Donahue, and I live in Vancouver. And I get my clothes at stores like they do, like Linda Lee, like you were mentioned, and some of my costumes are made. Like I'm wearing a casual suit tonight. This was borrowed. But I do own clothing like what Darcelle has on, and I do own clothing like what Linda Lee wears.
Well, now, when you go to buy clothing, you go in as a man or as a woman?
Oh, as a man, definitely. And I get a kick out of it. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I imagine so. What kind of reaction do you get when you walk into a woman's clothing store?
People stare. The most fun I ever had was when I was at Meyer & Frank's, and I went to buy a pair of pumps. Well, it was my very first time to ever buy my own pair of pumps, and the two girls that waited on me, they said, I picked out the shoe and I showed it to them. They said, well, what size would you like? And well, I held up my foot like this, and I said, well, my feet are pretty wide. And so they couldn't wait to get into the stockroom, and you could hear them laughing through the whole store.
Well, I guess that's something you have to get used to, isn't it? Now, here we see some, again, here, very feminine looking, here in the middle. Let me ask you, what's your name, please?
My name's Cherry Pie.
Cherry Pie, all right. Oh, I knew this would be a tough one. Cherry, have you had any, have you or any of you, do you resort to any kind of surgery or hormone treatments to get the effect you get?
Oh, heavens, no.
do any of you, do you do that? No. Is that a round no I'm getting from all around here? No, I heard somebody say not no. All right, right there.
Well, I just yesterday finished having my cleft filled in my chin.
All right. but there's no hormone augmentation. It's all done with makeup and with clothing.
Otherwise, it's not. I don't feel that it's true female impersonation anymore. I think just about. I know most of the performers in this room, and one of the things that is not done is the legs are not shaved. They're covered by dance tights and opera hose and such as that to give the effect. Eyebrows are blocked. I think the only thing that really is shaved is the underarms and some chest hair. But everything else, there are very few parts of your masculine identity that are sacrificed for this type of job.
Well, I would say we have one guest here who has certainly not sacrificed any part of his masculine identity. Would you identify yourself?
My name's Alan McGuire. My camp drag name is 50, and I am a member of a group that was formed about 5 years ago called the Portland Tough Drags. And we were formed as a group of guys that wanted to get together and have fun, do shows, and raise money for charity.
Now, you said have fun and do shows. So this is not just a business to you, is it?
No, I do this about once or twice a year. It's just kind of...
How long does it take you to do what you've done here?
I don't do any of it myself. I have no idea how to put a face on.
So now this is tough drag.
Yeah.
And that's the term. That's a recognized term. Do we have anyone else here who's tough drag that I missed? No, just you. And tough drag means, well, it means what I'm seeing.
We do not shave our facial hair or our chest hair, and we just go out as camp drags to have fun.
Go out. Do any of you go on dates? You ever go on dates with a man? Have you ever seen in public in this kind of outfit?
No.
You do? Now you do. Wanda Kentucky Jackson, you do. This, I may say for our viewers who turned in late, this is Miss Gay Oregon.
Yes.
You do go out on dates with men and are seen?
Often.
You ever fool any straights?
Often.
You do? You get asked out and you go?
A lot. I sometimes some of the conservative men go to straight clubs. Therefore, sees an impersonator. They're gay. Inner feelings are gay. Here I am, beautiful and attractive. They come to me. I let them know in my conversation that I'm a female impersonator. Perhaps I just finished doing a show or whatever, or I'm out on the town, and they're complimented. They don't feel like, well, I'm a guy. Hi, I'm going to go out with you. They feel more comfortable and at ease, and I don't mind at all.
When did you guys start doing this? Is this something you start doing? You get an interest in this when you were young? Is this something you take up professionally? Is there somebody here who started this young? Can somebody right back there?
Hi, I'm sort of like Wanda. We're old friends. We go out occasionally on dates. I'm married too, so there.
No, what you're a man.
Well, of course.
Okay. No, I'm not kidding you. You really have
I have a lot of fun. I went to PCC and I did a thing at the class for them because the students wanted me to and they wanted to see what I was doing. So I was supposed to be doing a report on construction of buildings, but I was not ready, so I did that. But occasionally, I have these friends that they want to show you off, so to speak, to the public because you're beautiful, and they don't know many women that are as beautiful. And the problem with that is we wear more makeup, but that's not a problem. Anyway.
Now, are you an entertainer?
Yes.
You are an entertainer?
I impersonate Lena Horne and Dionne Warwick. See, I do those people.
Again, lip sync. They'll put on the record, and you'll lip sync. Now, I'm going to ask a question here. I'm going to come back to you, Darcelle, with 15. There's a very distinct difference between from Lady Elaine here. Look at the difference between Lady Elaine and the impersonator seated right in front of her, and the ones here. Here I'm looking, the rest of you, it's flashy makeup. It's tremendous flash, a great deal of makeup. And he is very much made up like a normal woman you'd see in the street. Why that?
Because of who I do. I'm doing Lena Horne and Dionne Warwick to look similar to Lena Horne and or Dionne Warwick.
Okay, so what we're talking about here is a professional choice.
Yes.
Okay, all of you. Out here, I'll throw it out. Why do you do it?
Well, one of the
Why do you
things
do it?
I
Roxy?
feel, and if you'll notice tonight, you've got a lot of laughs out of everybody here.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you were paying attention to some of the names or not, but the names are also very funny, which to me designates and tells me that we're doing it as a spoof more or less on ourselves, too. And for the idea, my idea when I first started doing this was to be insanely crazy. I mean, sometimes I am without putting this stuff on. But, but this accentuates the whole thing. And I think there's something inside of all men, and I don't know how true this is. I don't have many facts to prove, but I believe inside of all men there is an inhibition, and it doesn't necessarily mean a feminine inhibition, but an inhibition to be wild and crazy in our society. We're brought up to be very staid, very outworthy, and very inward, the males are. And I think that this is one expression of the inside that you can't show from the...
Anyone else want to pick on that? Why do you do it? Why do you do it? Would you identify yourself, please? I don't think we've...
Solitaire or Mike Sandmeyer. And I wanted to say one of the reasons why I do it is the transformation, to take a fairly overweight man and turn him into a pretty female, and to use my imagination and to do anything I want to, because I'm taking a total transformation. The sky's the limit. So I can play with it and do anything I want. And to have that experience, there are times when you get done, you look in the mirror and you can't believe that's you.
What do you think of the audience reaction to you when you're...
To an audience, to work to an audience, to see an audience smile, to see an audience open up to you when you're on stage, when you're entertaining, to look at them, to see them forget about their problems that they had that day, to see that they are having a wonderful time.
So you're saying that this is showbiz.
Showbiz.
The roar of the grease paint, the smell of the crowd, all that's entertainment.
You have to be a dedicated entertainer to do this. This takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort.
All right, a direct question. Is this part of a gay lifestyle?
Well, I'm sure it is.
And are many of the people I'm looking at here gay?
I would assume so. I don't know.
And you want to answer that for yourself?
Yeah, this particular part of my time in my life, yes.
And what's the answer?
The answer?
Yeah, the answer, yes.
Yes.
And, okay, so we're again talking directly about this. Do you feel that maybe that's one of the reasons why that's attractive to you, Darcelle, is that you are gay?
No, because I started in legitimate theater in Portland for 5 or 6 years in Civic Theater, Marylhurst College, all of the local groups. That's how I started my theatrical career.
Is that the rest? Is this something that heterosexuals do? It is?
I'm sure.
Halloween. How many men at Halloween?
They can hardly
wait till Halloween comes around, and the first thing most heterosexual men, not most, a lot of heterosexual men want to do is put on a dress and run around and be crazy.
And we call it to borrow our costumes.
And they call us all the time to borrow, that's right.
Now, certainly, I think the image out there is that I think it's taken for granted with people that female impersonators are gay. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that?
That it's taken for granted?
Yeah, I think most people who don't take it, and you're nodding on that. That's true, isn't it, Al?
I've experienced that with a lot of people that I've come in contact with. They immediately assume that you are gay just because you're dressed as a female or being out dressed as a female, whether you're just standing there or performing.
Yeah. Now, how does that make you feel when you're on stage? Does that bother you?
Well, I don't think about it, for one. As long as I've made somebody in an audience laugh and have fun, that's you know. There are a lot of us that do this, that are married. Darcelle is married. She has 2 kids.
Also, when we're on stage, I think they forget about that. I don't think people 99% of the people in our audiences care about your lifestyle. They are looking at illusions. They are looking at things running around. I get more propositions from women at the bar than men. I mean, contrary to.
Why is this popular now? Why is this providing so much employment? Right back there.
Right now, one of the biggest shows on Broadway is the musical version of La Cage aux Folles.
Yeah, I know that.
That just opened, and like you said, the movies have made it more popular. The Broadway stage has made it more popular. There's also a play named Torch Song Trilogy.
Yeah.
It's just opening up. It's been out there forever. Shakespeare, Kabuki. It's been
now, Kabuki, that's the Japanese theater, all played by men, it's been that way for centuries.
20s cabarets where it was not acceptable for a lot of women to work in cabaret show lounges men were
We have the patrons here. Do we have some patrons? We have people who go right there. You, sir. Do you identify yourself?
I'm Dr. Richard Harris from the University of Portland, and I've been a patron of Darcelle's for at least 10 years. And he has always visited my classes in those
Now,
10 years.
why do you go?
It's the greatest entertainment in town.
What is now the greatest entertainment? Is it great entertainment because it's men doing what women do, or is it pure great entertainment from theatrical?
I don't think I can separate one from the other. I think it's there's a great deal of theater, and they present themselves in a really great theatrical fashion.
Anyone else want to talk about it? Do we have any other patrons here? Yes, would you identify yourself, please?
I'm Dorothy Johnson from the Parents Flag Group, and I have a son who is gay, but he does not dress in drag. He was the one that introduced me to the Portland drag shows or lady impersonator shows. I have been to several of them. I know many of the entertainers personally, and I think it's great. I love every one of them.
What kind of feedback do you get from the audience? What kind of feedback do you get?
I know that you can get away with doing more things on stage.
One question, are they laughing with you or laughing at you?
I think they're laughing with you, because...
Yeah. Experience at our club, at our shows. Most everybody, they come in with the idea of laughing at us first, to look at the freaks first. Not everybody, but a few. The few do. But we have a few that come in and say, let's look at the freaks.
Sure. There's a lot of people.
Curiosity. And then they get into the show and they finally realize, hey, they're not freaks up there. These are intellectual, intelligent beings that have actually thought this whole thing out and are actually doing a legitimate style theater.
So what we have, if I could kind of sum up a lot that's gone here, what we have here is men who want to entertain as women. You're entertainers. You don't want to be women. In fact, you lead lives as men. You said that, Dora Jar. You lead lives as men. You're entertainers, professionals as women. But it's something that not everybody's entirely comfortable with. And what I'd like to open up now to is, this is Town Hall. The reaction of the community to this. If there's somebody who wants to pick that up, the reaction of the community. In fact, I'd like to go and ask if you would identify yourself.
Raymond Cox, Salem Foursquare Church.
And I know that, Reverend Cox, you're here representing a viewpoint. What's your view of this?
Well, our viewpoint is based on Scripture. We don't judge people. We don't judge their conduct. God's their judge. But the Scripture says very emphatically that a woman is not to dress as a man, and a man is not to dress as a woman, and those that do that are an abomination. All those that do that, the Bible says, are an abomination unto the Lord. Now, if the Bible's true, that's true. If that's not true, the Bible isn't true.
Now, Reverend Cox, let me ask you, that apart from the Scriptures, do you feel that we have, is this a corrupting influence, an evil influence apart from the Scriptures?
It can be.
It can be?
It can be.
You want to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, these have mostly indicated they have no ulterior motives. They're not trying to pick up men or women or so forth. But a person could. For instance, someone dressed like the girl who impersonates Lena Horne, very attractive. She could sidle up to a woman with a desire to have a heterosexual relationship, or she could cuddle up to a man with a desire to have a homosexual relationship. Not all of them do it, but they could,
well, now,
and it makes it easier.
If I could somewhat take the converse of what you're saying, then, again, apart from the Scriptures, and I certainly respect your belief in the Scriptures, and I know that's sincere, but apart from that, what you're saying is maybe you don't see that much harm if they're just on the stage entertaining. Is that correct? Did I read you right?
I come from a tradition that we take a very dim view of the stage, so I would not be able to say that.
Would you identify yourself?
Yes, I'm Dr. Haas, president of the Citizens for a Decent Oregon. I personally have no problem with a female impersonator from a theatrical point of view. Somebody impersonates Big Bird on Sesame Street. I'm uncomfortable with individuals who we class as transvestites, who in their normal life and routine dress as the opposite sex, because I think these people have some serious psychological and problems with their self-identity, and can pose a problem to themselves and those with whom they associate.
More reaction from the community, right there, to identify yourself.
I'm Vivian Marsh from United Families of America. I gathered something from Darcelle that when she answered your question concerning is the gay lifestyle part of your lifestyle, and he preceded that with, at this point in my life. My question is, did dressing as a woman, a female impersonator, did that lead to the gay lifestyle?
Question to you, Darcelle. You heard the question.
No. No, I chose a period in my life not to be heterosexual, but that doesn't mean that couldn't go back. I have 2 children and a lovely son-in-law, and
you don't feel that the female impersonation led you?
No, had nothing to do with.
Right there, would you identify yourself? No, I'm sorry. Right there, would you identify yourself? You're hiding it.
Me?
Uh-huh.
I'm Reverend Harrison, Sandy Harrison from Ring of Fire Ministry, and
your reaction?
I'm appalled. I've never been involved in anything this deeply. The Lord has allowed me, scripturally, to minister to 2 ladies here who came out of the homosexual kingdom and now are living a lifestyle with Jesus Christ, and so I'm finding this all very interesting.
Well, then how do you feel specifically about what we have here, female impersonators? We've heard them, their message is we're professionals, we're doing this for entertainment. Certainly they enjoy it, they like their work, but that they're professional entertainers. Do you see that entertainment? Is this leading us along the way to Rome, as some people say? Do you see that?
Well, scripturally, I'd have to see it past Sodom and Gomorrah. And I do see it leading in a very dangerous direction for the young children.
How, in your view, does it do that?
Well, I have quite a few who come in my office for counsel who are very confused about who they are and where they're going and what's going to happen to them. They become confused about whether they're a male or whether they're a female, and a lot of
disorientation, confusion as a sexual identity. Is this one of the people? Would you identify yourself, please?
My name is Kathy Lewis.
Kathy, what is your background that Reverend Harrison alluded to?
I was homosexual for 15 years, and then I met Jesus Christ, had a personal relationship with him, and have been living for the Lord for the last 8 years.
Do you see, from your viewpoint, this type of entertainment as a factor that could lead to what you would regard a lifestyle that you wanted to lead?
Yes, there's a great deal of temptation involved, that things that we don't see that goes on in the spirit realm, that takes place in the heart of man and woman. And the Lord was able to reveal and open it unto me that the seeking after the entertainment and the fun and those things were in fact in a relationship when I encountered with Jesus Christ, a joy that is everlasting, eternal, versus this situation where it's temporal.
Well, now, I'm going to look out here to the audience and say, it seems to me that a lot of the opposition that we have here is largely religious. In the business, is there a community reaction to any extent against this? Right there, you want to identify yourself?
My name is Frank Kelly, and I'm just a concerned citizen, and as I see this, and I'm a family man, basically what I see is being communicated, and as much as these gentlemen don't want to state that, is you have an alternative lifestyle, and that's where we come involved with the gay community. Obviously, to me, that's where I back off, because as a straight guy, seeing the effects on America, and friends, study the material, and you'll see that there's some very tragic things that are going on within the gay community, and because of the effects thereof. Now, friend, you can choose that lifestyle. That's your business. But I'm just saying, for an individual who lives here in Oregon, I have some great fears, and I think it's really tragic. If you want to be in theater, there's legitimate theater. But unfortunately, what's being presented to the public, to children, is an alternative lifestyle that I see as detrimental.
Way in the back.
Hi, I'm Mickey Spence. I have 2 small boys, and from strictly the entertainment value, I would rather have them see the show at Darcelle, the early show that doesn't get because it's happy, than to have them go to a live boxing match where I am teaching them that it's all right to punch somebody black and blue until they cannot get up off the floor. To me, that's more damaging.
Right there. Right there.
My name is Reverend Dolores Berry. I'm pastor of the Metropolitan Community Church of Portland. And I, too, have found Jesus. And I praise God that I no longer live in fear about my sexuality. And I will be praying for you because I know the type of strife you must be in. I'd also like to say that if we're going to worry about this community, if we're going to worry about the decency of Portland, and we don't want to be like Sodom and Gomorrah, then we better be careful about our hospitality, because that was the problem in Sodom and Gomorrah. The fact that a group of people...
About our hospitality?
Our hospitality.
Okay, thank you. Go
That's
ahead.
right. How much we worried about, cared about, and loved people, and not worry about what they're wearing. If we want to talk about the clothing and where the men should be dressed as women and quote that at the time that it was written, we would have to acknowledge the fact that men wore something that looked quite like dresses at that time.
Back to you. Back to you, Reverend. Sounds to me like you're outnumbered but not outfought. Go ahead.
That's totally ridiculous, because women wore something that looked otherwise, and the whole idea of it was a man was to dress as men dress. Now, if men dressed in Scotland, for example, in kilts and women in slacks, that's proper. But for women to dress as men conventionally dress in our society and vice versa, that is unscriptural and improper. And I might also say that is sheer garbage about hospitality in Sodom and Gomorrah. It was homosexuality and not hospitality at all, as anyone who reads the 19th chapter of Genesis can find out.
Now, wait a minute. I've learned one thing on Town Hall. I'm going to speak as a lawyer to you 2 ministers. There's 2 ways we put people to sleep. That's to have lawyers argue the law and ministers argue the scriptures. So we'll just say you disagree. Way in the back. Yeah, you. Right there. Yeah.
I just lost my contact.
With reality? No.
I'm a professional entertainer in New York. I've transplanted myself here in September. You know, I've worked a few places. I've done a few things here. I made a living in New York. I've been all through New York dressed as a woman because I usually had to dress at home in Brooklyn and take the subway into Manhattan, and I went all around. But I made money, and I worked in Provincetown for 3 months singing in a professional theater group as a Ruth in Pirates of Penzance, a regular straight production. But I think a lot of gay men dress in drag because gay traditionally has been an outlaw thing. So if you're an outlaw anyhow and you're breaking the law just by being a person, you might as well dress in drag. And I don't see how anyone can say a female impersonator on stage, how that has anything to do with being gay unless you're having a sexual act on stage, which is what supposedly gay is all about.
You've led into something that I want to talk about, and that is we talked about the reaction of the community. What about specifically the reaction of the gay community? Would you identify yourself, please?
I'm Robert Dunn. I'm editor of the Cascade Voice, which is Oregon's gay newspaper.
Robert, what do you think? And again, we're talking about female impersonators here. What, if you could say, the reaction of the gay community to this?
Well, it's about as mixed as it is across the board in the heterosexual community. Certainly, just because gays do certain things in bed doesn't mean that we don't share the diversity that the rest of the community shares. There are gays that, first of all, it's important to make a note that not all gay people dress in clothing of the opposite sex. Some of us do certainly not all of us do. So that myth should be laid aside.
Well, sir, I think our viewers are certainly well aware of that, but it doesn't hurt to underline it. Go ahead.
All right. A lot of gays in the community have ostracized the drag queens, I think sometimes out of their own insecurity. And they forget that being the most visible segment of our community, that these men and women in this room are the ones who fought the gay battle right from the very first and who continuously fight it every day, because the banker who is gay, who goes to work in a three-piece suit and never dresses or outwardly exposes himself to anti-gay sentiment, does not share the burden that these men share by dressing like this and going and doing the things that they do all through the community. Darcelle is going this Saturday to dedicate a square in Old Town. They go out and about dressed like this, and they bear a great burden for gay rights, often.
So, Robert, you're saying that from the gay standpoint that these people have been maybe the cutting edge of bringing into the open a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
Is that your viewpoint? Where's Larry Southwick? Ray Southwick. Ray, would you tell our viewers who you are?
I'm one of the owners of JR's West, and I'm on the board of directors for the Rose Court as of this last weekend. The Rose Court is the formal organization that Darcelle was talking about earlier. I'm also on the 1984 Gay and Lesbian Pride Steering Committee.
This is not the Rose Festival, of course.
No.
We're talking about. No. Okay, just, again, matter of definition. Go ahead.
Correct. I've lived in Portland 16 years. When I first came here, it was about the same time I was coming out, and I was diametrically opposed.
When you say coming out now, you mean?
Recognizing that I was gay.
Okay.
Or at least
publicly.
Beginning to realize, right.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Ray.
It's only been in the last 2 or 3, maybe 5 years at the very outside that I've been able to accept that segment of our community ourselves, because I have a better understanding of it now. And in fact, our business just recently took a turn in that direction, and we began doing drag shows with performances with Dora Jar. And it's been a very interesting experience, because this year we participated in the Portland Opera pub crawl and had, as I understand it from the staff of the pub crawl, had one of the more successful programs on the crawl. And a lot of people have walked up to me and said, thanks, I saw something I never saw before. I had an opportunity to learn something different, and they were totally entertained. They also acknowledged that we were not the same type of show as Darcelle's, because we're not that structured. It's what we call an open mic show. Anyone can participate. But the other phenomenon that's happened to our business is that the theater community is coming to us now, and we've begun doing shows several months ago, small, short, one-act and two-act theatrical productions. So the two are beginning to go hand in hand for us, which is something we're enjoying a whole lot. I'm beginning to find myself, in fact, my lover is one of the impersonators in this room at this time, Elaine Peacock. And
this is back there who does the...
Lena Hardy-Alwaller.
Okay, go ahead.
So this has all been it's been a 180-degree turnaround for me. So it's very interesting for me to listen to the different viewpoints here and try to understand both sides of the argument, both from the religious organizations as well as from my own gay community.
Do you think that there are, say to you, Robert and Ray together, do you think that there are people in the gay community out there who are not happy with this? You indicated that, I believe, at the first of the
There are people who are very unhappy with it because it portrays gay lifestyle in a manner that they don't like it portrayed, and they think that well, they have a lot of misconceptions in their own mind about probably what they are, but they take all of it out on the drag queen.
Just before, let me ask: is there anybody here from the gay community who would represent that viewpoint, who is critical of this? Just to give it a chance to see if there's anyone who wants to take that viewpoint. Back to you, Ray.
Two of the people have had a very significant part in my, what I'll call maturing, my viewpoints about the whole subject matter would be Darcelle and Vanessa. We've known each other for a number of years. But one thing I think that needs to be understood, one of my personal goals, and I told you 3 items that I'm involved in this year, is to try to make the gay community as well as the community at large realize that we are not just drag queens. We are not just bankers in the closet. We are not just bar owners. But we are everywhere. We are many different things.
Thank you. Right there. A little bit ago, you alluded... Identify yourself, please. I'm Jay Mandeville, a citizen of Portland. A little bit ago, you alluded to the line of demarcation as being religious. Those who are religious... No, I just said at that point in the program it was, sir. Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, I'd like to pick up on that a little bit. Okay, go ahead. Because in my understanding, okay, as, I don't like to say religious person, but as a person who is identified with the Lord Jesus Christ, he speaks against, sorry, brother, he speaks against, okay, the inordinate lifestyle, if you mind, the alternative lifestyle that Brent spoke about earlier. The interesting thing is that even though the Reverend would like to claim that Sodom and Gomorrah were speaking about hospitality, in Peter, on beyond where they would go at that point, Peter speaks of it as being a homosexual lifestyle. Okay, now we do want to, again, move away from just a purely scriptural debate. But I think we've got not much time to go. Let's throw it open. The subject, female impersonators, way in the back. Make it brief, please. We'll try and get a lot of people on.
Carol McCormick. I attend bar Monday through Friday at the Topless Go-Go Bar. I attend bar on the weekends at Faust Cellar. And I have never met a nicer group of entertainers or people in the world than at our club on the weekends. And I think people should come down and judge for themselves.
Way in the back there. You, sir.
I'm just amazed at the contrast.
Identify yourself, please.
My name is Conrad Odendahl, and I go to Bible Temple. I've been a Christian for 11 years. I'm just amazed at the contrast between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of homosexuals. You even have people who are empresses or emperors or whatever. This is contrasted against the Lord Jesus Christ as king. And I see a total discrepancy here. This is what I see.
Well, back to you, Darcelle. Now, time is running down, and a lot of people want to get on. What I want to say to you, Darcelle, is this. Okay.
I got to tell you this. The Council of Churches called me today, and they asked for 4 dinners because they're putting together a package for an auction off-Broadway with a limousine and the whole business, and they chose us to do the show for them. We're not Ring of Fire and all that.
Darcelle, 15, a final question, if you could be reflective for just a second. Do you see something in what you're doing as beyond pure entertainment, that maybe there's a message here?
Absolutely.
What would that be?
We have people come to us who have their marriages are falling apart, or they had a death in the family, and they have come out for the first time in 8 months or 10 months since they had their desperate problem, and they laugh for the first time. They enjoy what we do. They know that what comes across to them.
You got 10 seconds.
Is wonderful, and it's exciting to me to work with people.
And that's 10.
Right.
And I have to close with that now. I'd like to thank all the people who came here for what was, in a lot of ways, we had some fun, but in a lot of ways a difficult program for a lot of people. I'd like to thank the people who came from the Impersonators and the loyal opposition from the Christian community who came up here to give us an insight into a modern clash. Thank you for tuning in, and good night.
For a transcript of tonight's Town Hall program, please send $3 in check or money order to Transcripts, Female Impersonators, care of Family Flair, Post Office Box 2022, Dallas, Oregon 97338. That's Transcripts, Female Impersonators, care of Family Flair, Post Office Box 2022, Dallas.